And this fourth kingdom, if you haven't already guessed it, is Rome. And it begins turning eastward and rapidly starts dominating the known world. It starts moving against the remainders of Alexander's empire. In 168, it annexes Macedon. 146 takes Greece over. Then Spain, Portugal. More of Alexander's moves east to Syria and a land known as Judah or Judea or Israel and the Middle East. And then it takes over Egypt, where the woman who's ruling, the queen, is named Cleopatra. The fourth kingdom begins swallowing up the north, Europe, begins taking Belgium, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Turkey, Bulgaria, Romania, Yugoslavia, Austria, Switzerland, England, Scotland, Iraq, and parts of Germany. And even a sliver of what would become the Soviet Union. Of course, when I'm naming them, I'm naming what they're called now. That's how big this thing was. From Scotland to around Iraq. All one Roman Empire. Daniel 2, verse 33. Its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and clay. There will be a fourth kingdom as strong as iron, inasmuch as iron breaks all things. Iron's the strongest. Even though it's nothing like gold, it's the strongest. Like iron, it breaks in pieces. It'll crush and break apart all these things. And you saw the feet and the toes, partly of potter's clay, partly of iron. It'll be a divided kingdom, but it will have the toughness of iron. And as iron mixed with common clay, and the toes, the feet were partly iron, partly pottery, some of the kingdom will be strong, some will be brittle. And that you saw iron mixed with common clay, they will combine with each other in the seed of man. But they will not adhere to each other as iron does not. Okay. Iron. Degenerated from gold, but strong. Rome, strong. Still strong. Iron is the strongest of those metals. Strong. And so no empire has been so linked to power as Rome. Rome. I mean, Greece has been linked to culture. Rome, power. Like Rome. If Babylon is the first of these, Rome is the epitome of all kingdoms. All roads lead to Rome. Rome wasn't built in a day. All these things, expressions we have. Rome was the absolute state. The Romans' legacy is the state is absolute. It is the ultimate empire. And there's a Hebrew word here that's used. You should know it's called dekak. Try it. Doesn't sound right, but it's a Hebrew word, and it says as iron breaks. The word dekak means, and it sounds like kind of what it is. It means to crush, crumble, break into pieces. Pulverize is what it is. Rome is a pulverizer, crushes, crumbles. First, it destroys its enemies when it comes against them, like it destroyed Carthage, totally put salt on there so nothing can grow. Also, in the end, Israel. What did Messiah say? I mean, of course, it didn't destroy the people. God has promised that, but the land, the whole nation was crushed. God's people, when Jesus said not one stone will be left upon the other, he's talking about Rome coming in and destroying them. He said that's what they're going to do. So Rome was the empire that destroyed Judea and sent the Jewish people all over. The land was devastated for 2,000 years because of Rome. Crucifixions, burning, Jerusalem gone. He said you'll be led captive into all nations. The Romans took the Jewish people. I mean, they smashed them. They made them like powder. They separated them all over the world. That was all because of this creature. That there are Jews in America today is because of the fourth creature. That there are Jews in New York because of the fourth creature. That there was a show called Seinfeld in Hollywood because of the fourth creature. From Albert Einstein in Princeton, New Jersey, to Steven Spielberg, to Bob Dylan, wherever he is, this is all because of the iron creature. Because of the fourth creature. Scattering them. At every Jewish wedding, or the traditional Jewish wedding, at the end, you know what happens. They take the glass, put it down, and smash it. Everybody says Mazel Tov. Okay. Why? Well, there's a few things. They say, well, you can say that what you do is done, sealed, but what it's saying also, it's remembering what the Romans did to the temple and that Jerusalem's destroyed. So even in the greatest of times, you remember Jerusalem. But it's all linked. Even the Jewish wedding is linked to the fourth creature. Now, in this fourth creature are several mysteries that are often not seen or realized. And the first is this. Rome, and you won't hear this a lot in prophecy, Rome fell in 476 around there AD. Yet the pulverizing of the Jewish people has continued in the world into the 21st century. Think about in Daniel, he says the days of those kings, he's talking about the days of the kings, the 10 that come up, and it says in that day, that's when God's kingdom's coming. So Rome in some way is linked to the end, okay? There's no other creature in between the end. So what that means is, in some sense, the fourth kingdom must in some way be continuing to this day. Now, the common prophetic view is that the Roman Empire will be revived. And I believe there's much truth to that as well. Absolutely. Even it's a divided kingdom, even divided in time, ancient and yet to come. Yes, that is true. But in other ways, the kingdom of Rome has continued, which I'll just give you a little taste of. But let me go more into it. It says it's a mixed kingdom, iron and clay. The Hebrew word arav means commingled, like when you're recycling, commingled. So this too is accurate of the Roman Empire. It was mingling all the peoples together, Libya, Belgium, Egypt, Germany. So mixing everybody together, ultimately kind of going for a universal state. Near the end of the Roman Empire, the ones who were ruling were actually the quote, German, quote, barbarians who became part of the guard, and they were the ones who were appointing the Caesars. It got so mixed. Then, when Rome fell, you had the Franks, you got the French, you had others, you had the Goths, all the people who destroyed it. They started taking on what Rome was and to form what we know today as Europe. Europe is the remnant, in many ways, of the Roman Empire. Now you want to see how this has happened, how Daniel's vision has come true in your life. That is, how many people here speak English? Okay, not everybody. How many people speak Spanish? Okay, how many people don't speak any language? I'm seeing people say, I don't know. Well, if you speak English, you know why you speak English? Because what happened was Rome, the Latin, Rome actually got merged. It says they will mix in together with the Germanic peoples, and together, Latin, German, you get English. That's why you have English today. So every time you speak English, there's some other things, but every time you speak English, you're bearing witness of the mingling of the fourth creature. And of course, if you speak Spanish, that's directly the language of Rome, just morphed a little bit, and that's a whole other thing. But so right then and there, everything, we couldn't be America without these things. So here you have this thing. You have a iron and clay. Iron strong, clay breaks. And there's a secret there too. There's a revelation there too, because Rome actually was broken apart. In the end, it was also smashed. Yet Rome, in being smashed or being separated, actually subdued the whole world. And one of, like you see it in your language. You see it, for instance, the whole world is saturated with Rome. Roman government, Roman law, Roman ideals. Go to Washington, D.C. and see what's ruling. That whole Washington, D.C. is modeled basically after Rome. The Senate is the Roman government. Our leaders, senators, are Roman. That's Roman. The Capitol building is modeled after the Pantheon, which means all gods from Rome. So Rome, and you can look all over the world, has actually subdued in its scattered form, and there's a mystery in here. It's broken, yet it's iron. It's getting something ready. You look, the symbol of the world governments, one world, United Nations, has an emblem, the world contained in an olive branch. Olive branch sounds good, but the olive branch there is the wreath of the Roman Empire. So now let's look at another part of this. It says in Daniel 7, another mystery here, I saw the fourth beast, dreadful, terrible, exceedingly fierce, strong, had great iron teeth, much stronger than the rest. Rome, dreadful, means it causes fear, dread. The Hebrew means to make something slink away like a snake. And terribly strong, the word in Hebrew, terribly, preeminent, terrible. It says, I desired to know the exact meaning of this fourth beast, why it was different from all the others, and the feet. Now notice, the Roman Empire in the statue is shown by the legs and the feet, okay? Now think about feet. What do feet do? Feet tramples down. It walks, but it tramples down. What did Jesus say? was going to happen to Israel, Jerusalem? Jerusalem shall be trampled down. Well, it's the Romans who do it, and they're represented by this. And so it says, until the times of the Gentiles or nations are fulfilled. Well, you could say 1967, Israel came back to Jerusalem. But yet again, we also know that there's going to be more trampling, so it's hard. But look at that. It's already lasted like 2,000 years, what Rome did. Rome and the nations there. It says it devours the whole earth. And the Hebrew word literally means eats the whole earth up, chews it like iron, assimilates, brings everything there, devouring all things. Now, so the nature of Rome is to smash, pulverize, assimilate, mix together. In the 20th century, from the culture that came from Rome, which is Western culture, the one we all grew up in, it's from Rome. It also has Israel in it, the spiritual part. It's kind of a battle going on, even in America, which I'll get to. But in the 20th century, from that culture, from Rome, came the ideologies of political movements known as totalitarianism, where the state is everything. The state controls everything, assimilates everything. Happened in Nazi Germany, that was one form of it. Happened in the Soviet Union, another form of it. In George Orwell's book, 1984, a symbol is used to represent the totalitarian absolute state. You know what it is? It's a boot stamping on a face. A boot. Interesting because, again, Rome in the Bible here, feet. It also happened in Italy, where Rome was, where the movement in the 20th century was called fascism. Mussolini, fascism, which is the state. Do you know where the word fascism comes from? It comes from Rome, from the fourth creature. It was a symbol that the Romans used. It was a bundle of rods called the fasces. We get the word fascism from Rome. Seeks to trample down. You got Italy, Germany, Russia. The state seeks to control everything, what you bought, what you did, what you said. And when you look at the end times, it's the same thing. When you look about the kingdom of the Antichrist, it's the same thing. One of the key forces against these things stopping these things from taking over the world, you know what it was? Of course, God's hand, but it was America. God used America to stop the Nazis from taking over the world, stopping communism from taking over the world, stopping fascism from taking over the world. America was founded on the principle because America had a different kind of... America originally had Puritans who said, we're here to dedicate this to God. So it had a different view than Rome. The root of America was the individual is sacred before God, and no government has the right to come against your conscience with God. The individual is the one, not the government. And the conservative impulse in America has always been to be suspicious of the state. Even the founders, they put all these checks and balances because they didn't trust the state being absolute. Now, generally, the left is for now expanding governmental power. Now, there's been totalitarianism on the left and the right, but right now that's generally, even the issue of taxes, what it generally does, and I'm not here, this is not about taxes, but what taxes generally does is it increases the government because you're giving their money, and it decreases individuals. In recent days, we're watching something in America, the growth of which could be called a totalitarianism. Some people call it soft totalitarianism. Though it tends to be of the left, it's not linked to a single ideology, which makes it more dangerous and more widespread. It's not like Nazism, where here's the party, here's this. It's a movement that goes against much of what America has stood for much of its existence. A movement that seeks to control your speech, even your thought, if it could, to crush any dissent, to crush anything. Except instead of using the Hebrew word dakak it uses the word cancel. Cancel. The movement is to silence all opposition and force everyone to acknowledge the new morality. It's moving through the government, but not just the government. It's moving through the entertainment industry. It's moving through the media. It's moving through big business now. Big business used to be conservative. It's changing. It's moving through the corporate world. It's moving through the educational system, through children's programming, through the web, through big tech. It's moving even through the army, through all things. Beyond it is a totalitarian thing that most of us who've grown up here are not even used to in America. We started talking like years ago, they talked about, okay, political correctness. Okay, they say, but now this thing has morphed into this. It's the same thing. We will not allow you to speak against, we will not have dissent. In fact, we will seek to force you to speak to agree with what we said. In 1984, George Orwell's warning is that at the end, the government, that's not enough to say don't speak. They seek to force the man to praise the government. Well, that's what it's seeking to do, celebrate. And if you don't celebrate what the Bible says is wrong, we will come again, we will punish you. But that's what Rome did. They sought to force everybody to acknowledge Caesar was God. And you know why when you hear about those things about Christians going to the lions, you know why they went out? Because of that. Because they refused to offer sacrifices or incense to Caesar. That's why they went to their death. It's a totalitarian impulse in our world today, Roman impulse. American children are now being indoctrinated in their first years to think the way they're told and come against anything that is against that. And the fact that it's happening in America America is leading in championing this throughout the world now. Even Europe. Now, Europe, we think, well, Europe is more left. Yeah, politically they are. But culturally, they're shocked by what's happening in America. They're seeing America as an ungodly thing that's seeking to force all this immorality on them. It's scary that it's America because America was the only thing that got, well, at least political thing or national thing that was actually stopping these things up to this day. Lincoln said America is man's last best hope. In the 20th century, America fought against all these things, all these totalitarianism, but now it's giving into it. It's championing it. A culture that crushes all this. This is very much end time stuff, guys. This is what because we know in the end times, in some way, this Roman civilization is going to manifest outright. But this is already beginning now. And when you see these things, a culture that seeks to crush every form of dissent, combined with the fact that the very issues they're trying to crush are particularly biblical issues or biblical morality. And it actually tends to be anti-Christian, which would lead us to conclude that this is all linked to what the Bible says will be in the last days. An anti-Christian civilization that seeks to crush all dissent, which leads up to the Antichrist himself, which is the horn on that last beast. We're seeing both an anti-Christian spirit and a spirit that seeks to subdue any opposition, namely Christian or conservative. It's no accident. Hi, I'm Jonathan Cahn. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel. I hope you were blessed with the video. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Feel free to share your reactions with your comments and how you were blessed. And share this video with your friends. Thanks for watching. See you next time.